There's a tear in your eye, and I'm wondering why, for it never should be there at all. There's such power in your smile, sure as stone you'd beguile, so never a teardrop should fall. When your sweet lilting laughter is like some fairy song, and your eyes sparkle bright as can be, you should laugh all the while, and another time smile.
This part is taking place at the home of Graham and Sonia Meredith. It was Sonia's idea in the first place to call together her 15 surviving cousins and their families. And remarkably, she's managed to get 13 of them here today from all parts of the world.
You can hear the angels sing when Irish hearts are happy. All the world is bright and gay, and when Irish eyes are smiling, shall they steal your heart away? When Irish eyes are smiling, sure it's like a morning spring. In the lips of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world is bright and gay. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they'd steal your heart away. And when
And it was a good way of getting everybody to...
As the second eldest pure Finegan, a few words to you. As you know, my real name is John. I was known as Brian, and I'm now known as Mike. I got that confusion out of the way. And I'm Irish. That makes it even worse, doesn't it, really? Anyway, what I'd like to do is just to say a few words in appreciation for what Sonia and Graham have done for us. I think it's an absolute sterling job, I really do. It was a couple of years ago when she first mentioned this. I'm not sure whether she read it on the phone or on a letter. And I personally was a bit dubious. I thought, oh, who wants to go all the way to England now? Anyway, she then, this year earlier, wrote and persuaded me in no mean manner that I should come. And I'm really grateful I did, Sonia. I do, honestly, thank you. Good. And we've had, and it's been the most exciting period of my life to meet so many people I've never met before and are related to me. I really do. Now, on that point, by the way, there's something that we did a little bit omit, and it's going to be rectified, is that we've now met each other, and a family unit is probably the strongest unit you can have in the world. You can't find anything better than a family. In order that we can keep in touch with each other, I'm going to put, after this, a pad, which I've got in my pocket, on one of the tables, and I would ask you all to please fill in your address, your name, your address, and your phone number. Someone here tried to contact me in Sydney and couldn't find me. That's because we don't like our creditors to know where we always are. The point is that it is important that we can keep, I believe, in contact, and especially, I believe, our grandchildren. I think a lot of us have grandchildren. I've got 8, and I'm sure you all have more than that. But it's their day too. Those are the ones that are going to come up and appreciate what Sonia and Graham have done for us today. I'd also like to mention, just in passing in a moment, our absent friends and relatives. There are a lot of them who couldn't, for various reasons, get here today. I mean, all my children and grandchildren would have given their eyes, ears, nose and throat to be here. My sister, who is known as Mavis, was christened Mavis, is now known as McGinty. Correct me if I'm not right, that's potato, isn't it? That's Mania. So I'd like to just remember that there are a lot more people in the family who would like to be participated in this wonderful gathering. And in those words, if you can just fill your glasses a little bit, and I think we should. There's enough. Yeah, that's right. I'd ask you to be upstanding and drink a very hearty thanks, and thank you to Sonia and Graham.
Just stand by when.
Where's the card? Where's the card?
Yes, he's up here. Yeah, well done. Leslie, could you just move it? Oh, there's another fellow there.
Now, I think we all want to say, for they are jolly good fellows, for they are jolly good fellows, for they are jolly good fellows, and so say all of us. Hip, hip, hip! Hooray! Hip, hip, hip! Hooray! Hip, hip, hip! Hooray!
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm very overwhelmed. I hope that nobody would think of anything to do. But thank you very much for all of you to come. You know, people have come from Australia, from America, from Ireland, north and south, from Canada, France, not the Isle of Wight, sadly, from England, all over London, all those big places. And we're very, very thrilled that you've all sort of grabbed the medal and come. Thank you very much. I'm very thrilled. Thank you very much. And please, come and eat some more, because there's lots of food here before we get to the puddings. So please come and help yourself.
Graham, would you like to read the card out, would you? Would you read it to us? The words.
It says to Graham and Sonia, with thanks from the Finegan family for founding and funding this foregathering of 70 Finegans, for furnishing a fabulous feast, for filming the festivities so that the future Finegans can meet their forebears.
I think that's Nicola. Nicola?
The other thing we'd just like to all drink to Diana and Simon Dent, who it's their 7th wedding anniversary today.
Diana and Simon.
Very happy return.
Then I think the other thing that we should just do is those first cousins should all take wine with each other. So the first cousins stand up and let's all raise our glasses. Yellow badges.
You move outside and yellow. Could you yellow?
Here we have the gathering of the first cousins.
Here he is. He's with us. Sorry.
Geraldine, we can't see you all. We can't see you all. Barbara Jane, you're hiding.
Barbara Jane needs to go to the right.
That's it.
I'm here. Barbara Jane.
Geraldine, we cannot see.
Joy.
Joy.
Yes, Geraldine, stay where you
Joy, come
There are
forward.
more photographers than there are passengers.
Right. Right, everyone.
Nelly, do you want me to take a picture with your camera? Come on. Do you want me to take a picture?
Here we go again. There we are, 13 first cousins.
Who's that drunkard at the front?
You're driving that.
Have we done?
That's it, now that's just for now. Right, just a bit. Just a bit. Then we got Billy. We had our conversation. Yes, that's it,
Have
Billy.
you with the conversation?
Then we have our hostess.
Yes, I'll
Our
take
hostess
it.
Sonia.
Thank you, Nigel.
Eileen. Here we go, Eileen. I'm just going to get you one after the other. A little parade, you see. The lovely Nancy. Now then, who's this?
Who's this?
There's
Hello,
Joy.
Nigel.
There's Joy. Then we have Jude.
Hello, Nigel.
There you are. There's John. Yes. Just want to get you one after the other. And then we have Mike.
Oh, you remember me?
We have Chris. And we have Geraldine. So there we have Bertie.
Senior.
Yes, the senior man here.
Well,
And here we have
I think you see enough of me.
Barbara Jane, Sonia's sister.
That's the great grandfather. There's my father. There's his mother. Yes, Jenny was old even then. That's her mother. Serious lady. Yes. And you never see there's four generations, and that's her. By the time the camera kicks in, all those are three sisters. I've never seen that before. I've never seen that before. I don't imagine my mother being as young as that. I've never seen any photos. Yes, like I have seen my mother when she was teaching and before she married my father. At this stage, this lady, it says here, doesn't she look handsome? Vicky Dot was her nickname, and she was married to my mother to start off with. She doesn't look handsome. She doesn't look handsome there, but it makes me fancy. It really works. I don't know when she's older there. Granny wasn't a beauty anyway. Rebecca Hills. Yes, Minnie Manny, Marion, his mother, Sophie, Jenny, Granny, and Grandpa with all her siblings. The mother of Eva. I wondered if you could get up. See, that's brilliant.
This is a photograph of William and Jenny Finegan, taken about 1890. They lived in Cork, Ireland, and in the 5 years between 1886 and 1890, they had 5 children. First, 3 sons, John, George and Billy, then 2 daughters, Annie and Jane, who preferred to be called Jenny. Annie married Chris Hosford, and Jenny married Jack Ragg. These 5 children gave William and Jenny 19 grandchildren, of whom 15 are alive today, and 13 are at this party.
This is this fantastic chart. Martin, how long did it take you to do the chart?
Well, it depends whether you count all the time I waited for the answers to come in from all of the people on it. But the actual work was, I don't know, probably 12, 14 hours. I don't know. I didn't add it up. Because I did a little bit at a time, and as I got more information from somebody, then I added it to it.
How many names are there on it?
I think there's 228,
Yeah.
maybe 29. I think I counted at 230 at one point, and then I had a couple of people who shouldn't have been there.
What was the most difficult thing?
Most difficult thing, finding someone to help me print it out of my PC so that I didn't have to join 14 pages together with Scotch tape 40 times so as everyone had a copy to take home.
We should be able to see some of these photographs later. Martin's chart shows the eldest of each family on the left and the youngest on the right. Taking the families of each of William and Jenny's 5 children in turn, we'll have a word from each of the grandchildren who is here and follow this, whenever possible, with pictures of their families. Starting then on the left of the chart with the eldest of William and Jenny's children, Abraham John Finegan. We have 2 of his 4 children here, Bertie and Nancy. They both live in Dublin. Here is Bertie's sister, Nancy.
I don't like studying books terribly. I like reading, but I don't like studying. I don't think.
Quite a number of the Finegans are quite creative, it seems.
Yes, I paint as well.
Do you paint?
I do.
And what's your best painting?
Oh, my best. Well, I've sold a lot. I do it as a hobby, and they have a lot of art exhibitions in Dublin in aid of this good cause and that good cause. And I've sold a lot over the years. Yeah. Geraldine's awfully good.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's better than I am. And Joy does a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, there's quite a lot of us. Yes, that's right. I think they are quite big.
Finally, give some message to the people watching this. Let's say it's some great grandchildren. What would you want to pass on as a message to them?
Message. Heavens. Oh, I'd have to think about that. I couldn't think of the message.
What's the secret of happiness?
Well, I think you make your own happiness. I don't think you're going to depend on somebody else to make you happy. Do you?
No. So how would you do it?
How would I do it?
How would you make it?
How would I make it?
How have you made yours?
By doing the things I like doing, I think. I mean,
A little about your fancy, Nancy.
yes, I think so.
This is Nancy's daughter, Karen. William and Jenny's second son was George. George became a doctor, and he married twice. His first wife, May, and he had two children, Mavis and Mike, who both live in Australia. This is Mavis, who couldn't make the journey, but Mike came to the party, and I asked him what message he'd pass on to his descendants.
That they should repeat this in 50 years' time
Yes.
and have another reunion,
Yeah.
because it's, as I tried to say earlier, a family is the strongest unit you can ever get in the world. If you can keep together as a family. There are too many families that fight each other and break up. If you can get a family working together, you've got a very, very powerful and strong unit. In the old days in Scotland, it used to be the clans. And the same thing in Ireland, actually. So that's what we really ought to get at this day, an age when the life is such a turmoil. This is the finest thing you can ever do.
What is there about the Finegans that you think is particularly remarkable?
Yes, that's a good question. I think one of the things that comes through very clear, and what I've seen today too, is that they all seem to hold their age extremely well, which is interesting actually. I mean, all the Finegans do, and they seem to they spread their wings across around the world. But I don't know whether other families are quite like that. I suppose they are these days. I think the younger generations coming along are lovely. You know, talking to them today, they really are, and that's what I tried to say. That it's the young people that we should really be paying our attention to, because it's those are the ones that are going to carry on, and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Is there any particular characteristic you'd pick out and say, well, I can see that that's a genetic factor about Finegans?
Yes, I think there is. I think you could say that there's in the girls there's a lot of beauty. There really is, in my eyes, coming through, and it's definitely a Finegan trait, and it comes through to even your family too, your children. You know, you can see it. I can see it all the way through, and I think that's one of the characteristics that's very strong for some reason or other. It's very, very strong. You can see it. I mean, I've spoken to people, cousins I've never ever heard of and seen before, and yet they've seen me. But especially the girls, you can see the beauty in the girls and the character, and they're nice characters too.
Yeah, they're a good-looking lot.
They are good looking, I think. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. Very much so. I think.
So where is it you're going back to?
Well, we're going back to Sydney, Australia, and that's why I'm very keen now to try and keep, even if it's once a year, Christmas card or something, the contact going, because I think it's very, very important. You know, already there's one, I can't think of who it was, one, you know, his son is currently in Cairns. Now, he's going back to Brisbane, and we're going to try and contact him through his father, because go and see my Jeffrey up in the mountains there in Lubbock. And that's the thing about it. There's this boy who's been trying to get work there. Now, if he had anyone in the family to be able to assist him a little bit, that's the name of the game.
You're marvellous.
Yeah, of course it is.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mike. Sonia.
This is Molly, George's second wife. Molly and George had 2 daughters, Barbara Jane and Sonia. And I asked Barbara Jane what she thought was characteristic of the Finegans, and she said the physical resemblance.
Definitely there, I can see it. I've already said to Geraldine and to Eileen long ago, to each one individually, they're terribly like each other. And everybody here today has said exactly the same. There's a great likeness between Nancy and Fenella. They're cousins. None of these are sisters, they're cousins. And other likenesses, well, I think we're a pretty jolly lot, really. I think we're a pretty jolly. I think we seem to enjoy life. That would be what I would sum up and say.
Can you think of anything you'd want future generations to know about the Finegans and say, well, here's a message for them?
Oh, that's quite difficult. I don't know. I think to enjoy life, really, and make the most of what you've got. And, well, you know, enjoy your family. And it's quite fun looking back and finding out who they all are. Whether they will, of course, the family will get to spread out. But I think just enjoy life.
Here we have Barbara Jane's 2 daughters, Nicola and Diana. Nicola's the one with the fair hair and Diana has the ginger hair. Nicola's here holding Rebecca, her eldest daughter, of 4. Then we have little Adam, who's only 1 year old. And Tessa, not looking very happy at the moment. Tessa's 2. Adam decided to go exploring. Here we have Barbara Jane's other daughter, Diana, holding daughter Annabelle, aged 2.5.
They take him to a land across the sea, especially when it happens he's an exile from that.
This is Diana's little boy, Nicholas. Nicholas is just 4 months old. He's the youngest Finegan here at the party. Next we have Sonia, George and Molly's other daughter, our hostess.
Proud to be a Finegan.
Well, I don't know, I think perhaps the name was always, and Daddy was always very proud of being a Finegan and very loyal to the cause. I think I've always thought it was just rather nice to belong to an Irish clan.
Have you seen the homeland? Been to Cork?
Yes, as a year. No, no, been to Cork. Want to. Been to Dublin.
Yeah. What's the most distinctive characteristic about Finegans, do you think? Carry on talking. I have to close this window because it's getting so noisy.
Is it? I think the main thing about the Finegans is that in fact they never stop talking. They've all got the gift of the gab. Don't you think that's right?
Why are you not supposed to say that?
Really?
Could be something in there.
They also have quite a strong jawline.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, there's terrific resemblances between quite a lot of us. How many have you done, Nigel? Am I the last one?
No. We've got a long way to go, which is why I was hassling you a bit because I was worried that we wouldn't finish.
Right.
Is there any message you'd want to give, say, your descendants that might never meet you, you know, only meet you after you're gone?
I hope
What
that
message would you give them?
What message would I give them? I hope that they'll all have a nice, happy-go-lucky attitude to life. And also, I think my main motto in life's been that if you put something into life, then you get a double back. And that's what I my philosophy in my life. That's getting very, very philosophical.
Sonia and Graham have 3 children in sequence here: Richard, Charlotte and Anthony. And here is Anthony giving a table tennis lesson to his young cousin Adam. Now we're going to meet the family of William and Jenny's 3rd son, Billy. Billy married Muriel, and they lived in Ireland, where they had 4 children. The first was son Bob. Bob lived in America, where he married Jill. Jill and Bob had 4 sons, and I asked eldest son Bill, who came over with his mother from America, to tell us something about his father.
In fact, he was very creative with a pen, although he never took it to true art. He was more of a doodler, but even his doodles showed that he had the talent.
He could have done super cartoons, couldn't he?
Oh,
That was
yeah.
right up his street.
Yeah, he could have done.
What about you?
I've got some of a talent for creativity. It's not as pronounced, and maybe it's because I'm not in a field that requires it, but you know, I've picked up some of it. I'm certainly a serious doodler. I've had many comments and compliments on what I do.
So
And it works.
What message are you going to give to the people that may be watching this film in 50, 100 years?
I think that is the message. Never let them get you down, and no matter how bad things get, you're always going to come out on top eventually. You just, the only bear is the waiting.
Here is Bill's wife, Tracy. And their son, Adam.
I can see your father in you, Adam.
Here we have Billy and Muriel's 2nd child, June.
Remember about your grandpa?
What can I remember about my grandfather? Well, I can always remember, they lived right next door to us, and we had a little hatch.
This is in Cork?
In Cork, right. And there was a little hatch in between the two, the houses were connected, how do you say it? They were...
Semi-detached.
Semi-detached, right. And there was this little hatch like between the 2 houses that we could lift up, open up, and we could talk in to them next door. And I thought that was really something that we could just lift up that latch anytime and just call in and just talk.
So what can you tell us about your grandpa?
Oh, well, I can tell you that seeing him today in one of those pictures just brought it all back. And he looks, what I remember about him was that he was very, very quiet man, very,
What about Grandma?
Granny Finegan. She was very good.
How old were you when you were looking through the hatch and
well, I guess
next door?
I had to be in any age up to the time I went away to school, which was when I was 10, I think. So it had to be up to 10. And yeah, I always remember him smoking a pipe.
Yeah. And what was he doing? What was his job?
Well, he had a pawn shop down Barrack Street. And many's the time we used to go in there.
And what did your...
My father worked there, of course.
Yes, he worked in the same shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was a family affair, really.
Well, what's different about a Finegan compared with other people? What characteristic could you pick out and say, that's definitely a Finegan trait?
Thoughtfulness, maybe.
Yes, have a happy life. By doing what?
I loving one another.
Mm-hmm.
Big things.
I see, be loving.
Hmm?
Now we have Billy and Muriel's